Hi, I'm Grace, founder and life coach with Comma Rethink Life, and I'm back here with Lavender Tan, who is a clinical psychologist in a private practice, and she really deals with people who have anxiety, ADHD, and a lot of chronic illnesses. So I really want to talk about this whole topic about family dynamics and how anxiety shows up and gets passed on to the next generation. And also, very importantly, how do we break that kind of cycle, right? So Lavender, let's start about this. How do family relationships actually shape our experience of anxiety?
Family has a very, very important role to play. They're the first people that we are exposed to when we come into this world, right? Fresh. So a lot of times, anxiety does get carried over because when you pay attention to the voice inside your head, it's very commonly the voices of the people you grow up with, mostly your parents, right? So typically, if you are raised in a family with anxious parents, you are at a much higher risk of developing anxiety. Partly it's genetic, but also because of being raised around these anxious thoughts and voices.
Yeah, and I mean, I can totally relate to that. Like, I know, like, for my dad as well, he always says that, he worries a lot, he's asking questions, and always thinking about something bad that might happen and things like that. And I think I had a conversation with my brother as well, and he said, like, we are also worry what's like a dad. And it was meant as a joke, but actually it kind of like came, it's true, it was true. And now I have kids, I don't want to pass it down to my next generation. Right, so that's something that I'm very conscious about. So actually, I just want to understand a little bit that sometimes as parents, our stress, we're unaware that we are actually saying all these things. Like, we're not conscious about like how we are speaking and how that impacts the children, for example, right? And like, what is actually the signs that our anxiety is showing up in our parenting?
Okay, that is a very good question. I think because it's normal for parents to want to protect their kids, right?
Yeah.
So
just keep them alive.
Yeah.
Especially in the first 5 years. Actually, first 20 years.
First 20 years. You start off that way. You start off thinking, okay, this is a baby, so fragile, that's why I need to be anxious. But as you observe, after a while, you start to get anxious about things that are actually not that serious. Do you catch that in yourself? Have you seen that in yourself or in the people around you?
I mean, I just suddenly thought about this whole pacifier thing. Like, when I was, with a kid, like when the pacifier falls down and you take it and you sanitize it, and you're like, I'm going to protect my kid from all these germs and everything that is in the big bad world. And then by the time you have third kid, you just stuff it back into their mouth because you probably either sort of like acclimatize yourself. So I don't know, I have that example in my head.
Yeah, that is an example because you're so anxious, right? The pacifier is going to kill this baby. So this
the germs.
Yes, the germs on the pacifier is gonna kill the baby. So that's when you know your anxiety is starting to affect your child, when it's disproportionate. The actual risk versus how you are reacting to it. And you know that because you see later on, hey, actually with my third kid, still alive. Yeah. The one who gets the pacifier straight from the floor is still alive.
Yeah, right. And I mean, I think that oftentimes when you work with your clients, right, they have like a big age group, right? So what kind of patterns that you see, in one generation to another generation, and what's happening actually in this whole anxiety chain? Yeah.
Well, I think what happens is that when a parent is anxious, they build an image of a very unsafe world, right? So what you think you're doing is just warning them of dangers, but actually what's happening is you're shaping their worldview, right? So for example, I worked with a parent and child. The child is my main client. And this is a child who is aggressive and anxious.
How an average age?
About 10.
Okay.
About 10. Aggressive and anxious because in a way that he will feel like his peers are trying to attack him or putting him down, and he would fight back, right? So it looks like aggression, but actually it comes from anxiety, feeling like he's going to get put down. So when I explored it, there's a lot of anxious thoughts, like, people will bully you if you don't take care of yourself. There's a lot of crime in the world. There's a lot of cheaters in the world, a lot of scammers. Where did you hear these things from? Your parents.
Yeah.
Right? It is fair to want to protect your child, but if you are bombarding your child with, there's this scammer over here, this is what happened, this is what happened, they get terrified of the world.
Yes, of course. And so then nothing good is going to come out from your relationships with people around you because everybody is a threat.
Yes. So you are afraid of everyone. So it's not just that anxiety gets passed down, certain types of anxiety gets passed down. So let's say if it's anxiety about cleanliness, then chances are the next generation will pick up on that as well. Anxiety about people, then they'll pick up on that as well. So it's not just anxiety in general, but the content of your anxiety can also be passed down.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I suddenly thought about those moments where my dad's like always asking me, have you pumped petrol yet before you go on a long distance ride? And then it will be like, oh yeah, because you're worried that something's going to happen to you. And my mom has always had those situations where she got stuck in traffic because she did not have petrol. So like he was protecting actually us or maybe himself from the trouble of actually having to go and rescue my mom.
Now it's ingrained in you?
Yes, yeah. And
how do you feel?
Like, I guess I'm always like, oh, okay, well, I just have to make sure that nothing, our car is okay and we're fine, that there's, we don't want to go on long distance trips without any very little petrol.
So you're constantly checking.
Yeah, but I think now it's just more conscious about it, right? But I think I've come to that stage where I'm not really so affected by the whole situation.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Actually, our context is different now. Maybe back then, there are fewer petrol stations. Nowadays, there's petrol stations everywhere.
Perhaps, yeah.
Right? So sometimes the anxiety that gets passed down is actually not relevant anymore.
Very true. And so how do you break this cycle of anxiety that you have unknowingly inherited from your parents? And especially when you are now trying to raise kids, you don't want to pass it down and you want to be more conscious about it. So how do you break it?
Well, ideally, seeking help will be very helpful, right? If you are open to it. Therapy, coaching, these are things where you voice these anxieties to another person and the other person will say, when was the last time you went without petrol? Right? Or a common one people will say is like, what if I have no job, no income, I become a garbage collector? It's actually, first of all, that's quite demeaning.
Yes, it is, but
right?
it's a very real example.
Yes, but also that doesn't apply anymore. Nowadays, worst case scenario, you can be a Grab driver, right? You can drive Grab, there's the gig economy, different world, right? So being able to talk to someone, so even if it's not a therapist or a life coach, maybe friends who can ask you like, does that make sense?
Someone to question your thoughts.
Yes, because most of the time you don't. You just take it as facts.
That's true. And I think that we have this belief that the narrative we're telling ourselves is the absolute truth. So I guess like having that confrontation in a good way helps us to really discard the things that are not relevant thoughts and the thoughts that we do want to take on for ourselves.
True, exactly. We call it carefrontations.
Carefrontation. I like
the
that.
confrontation we make when people care about you.
Oh, that's so good. And you need to have these kind of friends in your life who actually ask you these kind of questions, not in a put down manner, but in really because I truly care about you and are those thoughts really relevant?
Yeah. How about you? How do you manage? How do you feel you manage this anxiety with raising kids?
I think, I do have a lot of different types of thoughts in my mind, oftentimes related to the family, to my work and all those kind of things. And I think that what helps me is really spending some time in journaling, writing my anxious thoughts down, because then when I do that, I'm looking at what I'm looking
You're
at.
You're carefronting yourself.
That's like, a good thing. Yeah, I'm like looking at myself and I was like, Grace, what are you looking at? What are you worried about? And then just having those moments of like, okay, really? So what is the worst thing that would happen if this happened? But actually, what if it turned out well? Like if I could ask myself those kind of questions, then then I guess I could really program my thoughts towards like, what kind of action do I need to take in order for me to get the good outcome that I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you challenge your own thoughts,
Yes, I do.
which is awesome.
Yeah, I do. And journaling really helps.
Okay, that's a good tip.
So, as a parent who's perhaps a bit more aware of our own anxiety, is there anything else that we can do?
Well, because we learn so much from our parents, we learn anxiety, we can also learn emotion regulation. What you can do is you can actually model it to them. For example, let's say you know you're nervous about a meeting, you can actually share it with your child. You can say, oh, mommy's nervous about this meeting. My heart is racing. So I'm going to drink this hot cup of tea to calm down. Can I have a hug? And then they give you a hug, and then you can say something like, oh, I feel better now, thank you. So you are teaching them to spot those signs, the heart palpitations or whatever, and then you are teaching them to do something to calm themselves down or to seek comfort, right?
Yeah, that's so good. And I think that you're helping them to see it.
Yes.
Right? Because I think when I was growing up, I went through a lot of upheaval in my own emotions as well, and I didn't know how to regulate it. The only way I could do it was to cry as a teenager and just you know, yeah. But then I think like if I had someone to show me how to handle this, it will be so much easier for me to know how to deal with it.
True.
Yeah.
Very true.
So Lavender, thank you so much for this heartfelt conversation. You know, if you're a parent watching this, I understand that sometimes we can feel really guilty that are we doing enough, or you know, am I passing on all these things, and we worried about that, and that's another layer of anxiety. I just want you to know that, you know, it's okay. We start where we are, and we are all imperfect, but then awareness is the first step, and so then we can take whatever is in our control and make the next step forward bit by bit. So make some time for self-care today so that your anxiety can be under control, and hopefully it will break that cycle from you passing that on to the next generation. I think having those words as well, very conscious about the words that we say, is a very, very important thing for us to do. So yes. Thank you, Lavender.
No worries.